Good evening, everybody. My name is Lorenzo, and today I'll be presenting my vision of what the future is prospectively going to become. So now, what do we know about the future? We really don't know enough about the future. That is why there are many different types of organizations all around the world that mainly develop interests and different types of communications on the future. Now, what do we have? Internationally, we have things such as the UN. The UN generally has assemblies, committees, and all these different types of situations where this is a main topic analyzed and devised. Now, what else do we have? We have also things such as the G20, which in this year, 2022, is in Bali, Indonesia. But what does it truly mean to look at the future? What does it truly mean to see the perspectives, all the different types of interest levels that will become in the future? And in this case, the year 2027. Now, if we look at this in the economic aspects, we will see how different types of situations will have drastically changed both from the past to today and from today into the future. Now, in fact, today, economics has become something more accessible and feasible, mainly due to the creation of online trading apps and softwares. Now, has this helped us for? This has mainly helped us for enhanced security features in general and better trading with better used interfaces. Now, what does this bring in the future? The future sees us using AI-powered tools for stock prediction, mainly used to analyze thousands and thousands of data points to execute trades at minimum prices and to reduce risk, enhancing overall accuracy. Now, not only do we have AI-powered tools, but we will also have stock markets around the globe globally embracing blockchain technology. Now, what will this bring us? Blockchain technology will eliminate third-party authorities using smart contracts and network regulation. It will implement security measures by tracking and reporting illegal activities, and overall, it will bring the possibility to invest in elements such as cryptocurrencies and non-fungible tokens, also known as NFTs. Now, what else do we see technology influencing in our future? Another thing that we will see it influencing in our future is energy. Now, globally, the ambition is to reach a net zero carbon emission by 2025, which means that the network that supplies energy will absolutely need to evolve and change in order to purely embrace this ideal and this component of our future. But how can this happen? How are they going to be able to give enough supply for this over-increasing demand of electricity? Now, this will only happen through the solutions of global, renewable, and green energies. But what does this mean? Generally, this means the use of different types of power plants, such as nuclear and geothermal power plants, solar panel grids, wind turbines, hydroelectric centers, so on, so forth. But what are the positives? What good sides are with these types of power plants? Now, the main idea is that with these renewable and green types of energies, we will have reduced air pollution, we will require less water, which, as we know, is a very limited resource of energy, and furthermore, it will overall create new jobs, with around every power plant creating 50,000 new jobs opportunities. But other than energies, what will we influence? How can we see this changing our, let's say, day-to-day life? Now, we will see this in engines and cars, I could say. Now, not only do we want to reach global car emissions to slow down in order to have less CO2 pollution, but it is very important that combustion engines are to be replaced. But how would this be done? The main idea is that, yes, today there are electric cars, which are a very sustainable and possible alternative to what is considered today the most toxic and polluted version of the combustion engine. But what is a new technology? What is a new way, a new experimental way that has been found and discovered in order to create newer types of renewable resources? This is the hydrogen car. Now, what is the hydrogen car? The hydrogen car is mainly produced hydrogen car made in China or Japan, such as companies Toyota. And these types of car will increase energy resiliency, produce no harmful tailpipe emissions, refuel completely in 5 minutes, and overall help us create a more sustainable, developed, and less polluted way of life. But what else is also something that we see in our day-to-day lives? What else is something that we always experience? Infrastructures, our homes, buildings, departments, houses, schools, everything in which we experience communities, social work. But how will this change? Now, the problem is that global infrastructure right now is having great losses. That is due to the fact that they're crumbling apart, they're not very sustainable, and overall old. What is the future? Now, me personally, something that I have explored also in the past is green rooftops. In fact, I see this green alternative as the best way to create new infrastructures that will develop and help us create a more sustainable lifestyle and also a more technologically advanced lifestyle. In fact, it is proved that around 0.69 grams of O2 are produced per meter squared per hour whenever you have any type of green roof. Now, what does this mean? Why is the green rooftop not only useful for oxygen production? This is because not only is it helpful for this, but it also improves stormwater management overall in the facilities. It also improves air quality, and overall it reduces urban heat island effects, which are something that especially more impoverished areas suffer from. Now, another sector, maybe less from our day-to-day lives, but something that we might encounter on the news, or something that we see as the most futuristic or the most important in our future, is space exploration. But how do you think we will be able to implement new technologies? How do you think we will be able to see new developments in space exploration with, the new technologies that are going to come? Now, the problem is that with space exploration nowadays, it isn't anymore about the actual technology, the actual development of ways in which we can actually go to space, because that has already been done hundreds and hundreds of times. The problem is with the funding. In fact, the problem is with the financing of the technology that will bring us up to space. But how do we think we're going to find a solution to this problem? The main way is going to be through reusable two-stage rocket boosters. And companies such as SpaceX have been developing technologies supposedly for this type of situation. Now, why are these technologies going to be helpful? The main idea is that barriers to access for space are going to be lowered, which is going to create more access to scientists for studies outside of our global orbit. Now, another thing is that will create savings for cost of launch, which, proven by NASA, have been around $70 million. Now, $70 million means almost more than half of the cost of an overall flight being reduced, which actually could improve the quantity of times we can make flights per year. Now, maybe something that is also more tech-related, but not really. Maybe something more biologically related, medicine. How would we think medicine will change around the year 2027? Now, medicine is a very important subject. That is because it is what we base our very foundation as a society. That is what has brought us to have a life expectancy of around 80 years all around the world, globally. But how do we think it's going to improve? Because we must know that already nowadays, there have been continuous new technological instrumentation becoming more and more advanced, with new types of surgical procedures also being developed in order to reduce damage of tissues of the patients, in order to decrease the percentage error in all of these surgical procedures. But how do we think we're going to implement new technologies in this? Well, the main idea is that out of all promising technologies, out of all promising researches, probably the most important one has been the development of stem cells. Now, what do we think stem cells and all of these other technologies will bring about? The main idea is that stem cells can divide and renew themselves over a long period of time. But not only, they're also unspecialized. Thus, they cannot do specific functions in the body. And, well, one might say, how do we find use in unspecialized cells? The use is that being unspecialized, they have the potential to become specialized. What does this mean, though? It means that they can become any type of cell inside of the human body, from muscles to blood to brain cells. All of this will help us develop further technologies and further implementations of different types of medical procedures. And what else do we have? What else do we have in the near future that could develop positively, which has a bad impact on overall the environment, but also on our health? That is mainly the food industry. Now, the food industry has many factors and many sectors, but the main problem overall of the food industry is that it's lacking in the component of renewability and being positively efficient with the energy consumption. Now, why is this? The problem is that the food industry causes over 1/4 of the global pollution levels. And not only that, another problem with the food industry are ethics that are brought into questions, with around 50 million animals every day being found in conditions of impossible living conditions. Now, what does this mean? This means that cattle, fish, all around the world, all of these types of animals that we find every day on our dish are living in conditions that are non-humane. But how do we think that new types of technologies will help us develop this? Now, the main idea is that not only do we have this getting better, but we also have a way in which we can produce new types of meat. new types of sustenance that will help us reduce these types of problems. In fact, for animals, a new type of technology will be lab-produced meat. This type of lab-produced meat will also cut emissions by 96%, as overall it will create new types of labs, also giving new types of jobs, but overall giving a greater possibility of having ethically garnered food. Now, another problem with the food industry is that overall we also have agricultural problems. Now, the main idea with that is that agriculture creates a lot of pollution with all the types of different machines that are used in the industry, but most importantly, a great element that maybe not everybody knows is that there are great emissions of nitrogen oxides, such as ammonia and nitrous oxide, from fertilized agriculture that have quantifically caused every year around 72 billion damages. Now, what does this mean in the near future? This means that in the near future, we'll have to create a new type of development for plants that will not require this type of nitrogen fertilizers. But how can we do this? The main idea is to have GMOs. GMOs will be able to reduce nitrogen fertilizer use as it will create better quality, but also better genetically type of plants. These plants will be able to grow and to create fruits that are going to be impeccable for the human eye and for the human taste, but most importantly, for human nutrition. Finally, another element of this is generally insects. Now, the idea of having insects as food might not seem as interesting or as inviting, but they're considered a superfood. And as they can be produced in large quantities in humane ways, the main idea is that these insects could create high calorie and high fat food for low cost. High fats such as omega-3s, which are very important for overall human development. Now, maybe something that is more related to schools and something that is more related to the situation in which I am as a student here in AOSR. This is education. This is mainly due to the fact that literacy rates nowadays, yes, they're quite high, as we have around a 99.94% literacy rate among the whole entire global population, which I guess might seem like a good percentage. No, 99%, that is pretty high. But we still have to understand that this means that around 480 million people are illiterate all around the world. And how do we think we're going to be able to fix this? Now, the future sees the development of worldwide internet access everywhere, even in the most remote, deserted, and isolated places. Now, this will be able to create a prospective 99.99% literacy rate, or even 100% literacy rate towards the end of this half a century. Now, finally, something also very important to me, not just as a student, but as a teenager, is socialization. Now, how do I think that this will change, impact, or develop in the future with these new types of technologies? The main idea is that nowadays, virtual reality and virtual technology still haven't developed as much, nor have they garnered enough traction among the bigger masses. But still, in the future, we might see a different change in this. In fact, we have different predictions on how, in the near future, developments of virtual reality software and hardware will create around 60% of all social activities moving from being physical or from being in physical spaces to becoming totally online and internet accessed. Now, this isn't only for social things such as going out with friends or going out to dinner, but also work-related subjects, such as reunions or any type of committees. In the end, I hope that this presentation was useful and hopefully interesting for everybody to truly understand what is the meaning of developing a further understanding of what the life in 2027 will be, or also in the future. And I really hope that this type of technologies will be able to positively impact the future and our lives. Thanks.